Hey guys, good afternoon, everybody. Today is Monday, December 5th. It is 2:01 right now. It's time for our scheduled group mentoring session for the week. So I'm going to go ahead and set up this room real quick and then we'll get started shortly. So just give me a few moments to finish setting this up. I'm going to send this link out to you guys and then should be good to go. So a couple more things here to update. All right, one last thing, and let me get this link sent out to you guys here in the premium. All right, cool. All right. There we go. This link sent out over here as well. So I'll get a few moments for people to make their way in, and then we will get started shortly. All right, one other place here. All right, so our main focus for today's mentoring session, because we don't have any questions specifically. I'll be going over like the trades that came up today after the live session. There weren't any trades that came up during the live session, but there were a good handful that happened after, which we can cover more specifically. All right. Got everything lined up right there. Looks like people are still making their way in. So if you guys have any specific questions that you want me to cover during the live session, this mentoring session, just post them in the chat and then we can take a look at whatever you guys need help with. I have two other mentoring sessions today. I have one with Douglas after this, and I have another one later with Ross. So if you guys want to sit on those later on, you guys are more than welcome. I'll post a link up so that you guys can join. But yeah, so all right, I'll give it a few more moments for people to make their way in. Looks like some of you guys are still joining. And so I'm just gonna put this right here. So main things to cover today. So basically entries that appeared after a live session today. Preview to FX intraday swing strategy. Conjunction with SR zone strategy. And I think that's about it. I don't really have anything else to cover today. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, I don't know how long this session will last for if we don't have many questions. So I just want to, put that out there because this session will last for as long as we have questions. I think this will take a while because we have a lot of entries to cover. from today after the live session. I think one of you guys wanted me to show you which entry I took today. If you guys saw, I took one trade over here. This did blast right through TP. It actually dropped like another 1,000 pips after. I pulled out early because I jumped into the trade too early. There was a pending sell signal on the 10-minute. It didn't close yet. I thought it did close, and I just entered the trade. Unfortunately, it didn't close, so I pulled out early once it went into profit. And then as soon as I pulled, it shot straight down to, I mean, you guys can see over here, it literally dumped from this point right here. I took this trade like literally right here, or no, right here actually. And this thing just came tumbling down super heavily. So we'll go over that entry here. I think that's the first one that came up. Or actually, there's one like right before it right here. I think this is the one that I actually took. I took this one, and then I got kind of scared when it retraced right here, so I just pulled out. And then it literally dumped like 1,000 pips right after. So we'll go over that shortly. So, again, I'm just going to put the things that we're going to cover today. Basically, the entries that appeared after the live session, and then preview to the FX intraday swing strategy that I use in conjunction with the SR zone strategy that I'll probably be calling signals for. So those are the two main topics. I mean, this is probably enough for today, because this is probably going to take an hour or two for me to cover everything. But I do have 2 other mentoring sessions right after this. So if you guys don't have any questions now, you guys are more than welcome to sit in on the session with me and Douglas. He actually has questions that are here. He actually sent me questions already. So we'll be covering that a little later. He wants me to show him how to mark up charts for news, horizontal lines, vertical lines, where to place the lines. How do I follow news? How many pips do I target for TP? Capping upside, etc. So we'll have those questions in the next live session or next mentoring session right after this one. And then Ross is going to ask me some questions later as well. So we got a lot of stuff to cover today. But for this session specifically, if you guys have any specific questions, just pop your questions in the chat, and then we will cover it. So we'll start off with the entries for today. So let me go over here real quick to this one right here. So this, I'm just going to rewind it to this price point so that you guys can see the point of entry. All right, so you guys will see right here. I'll just rewind it to like this candle right here, but this candle was still active at the time of entry. So the first one that I took was like right over. I didn't take this one because it was right at news. Unfortunately, I wanted to take this one, but I couldn't because it was literally at news. So what happened was I took this one right here, but this wasn't exactly a proper entry because the 10-minute sell signal hadn't closed yet. So I'll just go over all the entries that came up after the live session. There were quite a few, and they all pretty much went straight to TP. There's a couple of you guys here who took it. Like there was David over here. He said he was waiting pretty much like all morning, like I did. He took the trade here, finally locked in 3,050. So he did the same thing I was doing, but he actually waited for the proper entry and he got full TP, this green strip right there. So some of you guys did wait, and you guys did lock in some good profit, towards the end of the session. So great work with that one right there, David. But anyways, so here's the first entry that came up after the live session. I got off the live right here at 8:30. So literally after this entry right here, I got off the live because there just wasn't anything for us to take, right? So this, I was pretty much sitting online for a while because I was answering questions. And then I saw this entry right here come up. So this entry right here lines up with both strategies. I'm going to go ahead and cover the overall direction, trend, bias, momentum, so that you guys can see that we already checked off the checklist here for 10 and 5. So for the 10-minute time frame, you can see that price is below the pivots. Trend meter is red, pivots are angling down, they're spread out. This is going to confirm a downtrend and bearish momentum. Same with the 5-minute over here, price below the pivots, trend meter is red, pivots are angling down and they're spread out. Lastly, with the 1-minute, same exact thing, right? Price below the pivots are angling down, trend meter is red, and they're spread out. So right here, we obviously have a very strong sell bias. This is what we were looking at pretty much all morning. The problem with this here is that this candle was still actually active. So this candle right here was like active and it was showing a sell signal, but it didn't actually close yet. The thing is, I saw it like this where it was pending and I saw the sell signal. I was like, okay, for sure, this is a good trade, right? So I entered the sell And then when I entered the sell, I was like, oh crap, this isn't, it hasn't actually closed yet. So let me show you over here real quick. I let the trade kind of run for a bit. And then when it got to this point, I was like, crap, I looked over the 10. I was like, this hasn't closed yet because this kept disappearing. And then that's where I pulled out. So when price was like in profit right there, I pulled out. And that's where I locked in my my small profit right here for 410. I should have been 1,000 if it hit full TP, but I pulled out early because I caught my mistake. And, you know, I'd rather have some profit than have a possible loss. So I pulled out right here, unfortunately. And if I just held on to it a little bit longer, like one more minute, it would have hit my full TP right there. Like literally blasted right through it. So unfortunately, I didn't take the full TP off this one. But I did FOMO on this trade because typically I don't trade after 8:30. You can see this trade here came up at 8:42. It looked like a good entry, so I took it. Once I realized that I made a mistake, I pulled out for profit. But if I would have held on to it, it would have hit TP because it just kept dropping from there. Literally like a few minutes later, like for example, right here, it just came dumping straight down. So, I mean, it's all good. It happens, right? We all make mistakes, including myself. You know, if you get in that zone where you really want to take a trade, you're going to take bad trades. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to skip steps. And that's something I did there. But thankfully, I was able to close out with profit. This entry right here also lined up with the high-low momentum pivot scalp because if you can see over here, we do have a zone from this point, and you can see from here, this would have been a solid entry as well. So this would have been a momentum scalp. It also would be a high-low momentum pivot scalp as well, because we have the structure right here. Price is pushing away from it. It fits the criteria for both strategies. So whether you're applying this strategy here or applying this strategy down here, this same candle would have lined up with both. That's another reason why I was so convinced to take this trade, because I saw this line up and I was like, okay, this is a perfect entry. It's two strategies in one. They're both high win rate strategies. Odds of it hitting are very likely. The only problem here is that I kind of screwed up with the 10-minute. So that's the main reason why I pulled out. But it's all good. You know, I made profit, profit's profit. Even if I add up my profit here across all my accounts, I still locked in a pretty good amount. So you can see here 410, 260, 290, 290, 290, 265. So I still locked in so 1540 plus 265. Still locked in 1,805 across all my accounts. That's just one trade, and it wasn't even a full trade. It's partial. Plus like the dollar that I made here on my personal account. So I mean, I still did okay, but you know, it could have been a lot more. So it's all good. Anyways, that was one entry right there. Let me just keep moving forward because there was a lot of entries here that came up. So from this point, we already had a sell bias. So we're basically just looking for another sell signal, right? So again, right here, same situation. Let me just take this off right here. I don't think this was a high-low momentum pivot scalp, but it was definitely a momentum scalp entry. So it was kind of close. It slightly pushed away from it, but it wasn't necessarily in. So as you can see from here, this is a momentum scalp. Looking over here again at the other time frames, we had a sell signal right here. Again, it's still bearish on the 5-minute, bearish on the 10-minute. Everything lines up for a sell. Here on the 1-minute, you could take the sell entry right here, just like as you did prior. Sell entry right there. TP stop loss. Taking the trade straight to full TP on the next candle. So there was another one right there. Let's see if there's anything else that came up over here. And then looks like there was one more. One more there, right there. All right, so this was an invalid candle. I typically don't like taking candles like this, but in some situations where the bias is super strong. So like just looking at this over here, I mean, this is super strong, right? This was at what, 9:30. Let me just move this forward a little bit. Yeah, the direction on here was like super strong for a sell. Yeah, 9:30 right there. So again, right here, it was very strong for a sell. 9:30 right there as well. So we have a sell bias here on the 10, sell bias here on the 5. Again, right here, I typically wouldn't take this, but if I saw something like this and it was a very strong sell bias, I probably would have just hopped into it. So again, right there, same situation, 10:30, let the trade run, full TP on the next candle, no drawdown. So basically 3 back-to-back wins right there. Let's see if there's anything else that came along over here. So no, nothing on that one. Nothing on that one. All right, one more right here. Same thing, momentum scalp. This again right here would have been a high-low pivot, high-low momentum pivot scalp because rejected off the structure. So whenever you have actually this one wasn't. It didn't reject off it. Let me check this next one right here. No, this one it didn't either. So there was only one, the one that actually took that lined up with both strategies. Everything else down here was just a momentum scalp because it didn't reject off structure. But this one again right here, same situation. Short position. This is at 9:55. See right there, full TP again right there. So there's about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 back-to-back entries right there to full TP. This one right here wouldn't be an entry that we take because it was touching the sessions. So obvious red flag right there. No entry. Check my pivots. I realized the pivots were removed on here. All right, let me check again. And I think that was it. I don't think there was any other, there's actually one right here. I don't know if it would be a valid entry because it was so close to the sessions, but I think it would have been enough just to hit it. No, okay, so I would have skipped this one too because the TP would have been past the sessions. So we would have avoided this one up here because it touched the sessions. Again, this one right here, the TP would have to touch the sessions to reach the TP. So I'd skip both of these even though they both hit TP. And I think that might have been it. It's getting close to 12. So like around this time right here, I stopped trading completely. If I ever come back to trade after like 10 o'clock, I'm done trading for sure by 12. So that's where volatility starts to act kind of weird. There's actually one more entry right here, just one last one. This one is actually a good one. It's another momentum scalp entry. Price was below the pivots, trend mirror was red, pivots are angling down, everything else is bearish. Take this for a short position right here. Let the trade run. Full TP on the next candle. So I think that might have been it. You can see right here, once it hit 12, it's just not a good time to trade anymore at that point. Again, right here, sell signal, it would have hit TP, but it was right at the sessions, would have skipped it. Another one right there, same situation. Good entry again, but it's right at the session, so we would have skipped it. And then market close right here. So looking back at the entries that came up after the live session, because we got off at 8:30, there was about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entries that you could have taken that would have hit full TP. So that'd have been a nice 600 pips right there. No losses, all wins. Solid day. Sometimes you'll have situations like this where the market's very slow during the live session trading period, and then it just picks up towards the end. It doesn't always happen this way, but the thing to keep in mind is that you're better safe than sorry, right? Especially on a Monday like today. You have a whole week ahead of you. There's no need to force trades. Just, wait for the trade to come to you. So I took a partial entry off here, but that was about it. Everyone's profits for today were pretty good though. So just looking at, so I typically save everyone's profits here because I post them later in the day. So David over here locked in 3,000. C-Soup locked in 13,000. I locked in about 1,500 total. These are all my accounts right here. C-Soup again, 7,000. C-Soup 4,000. Patricia was up 1,500 off her second account. Her first account, she was at 4,900. Maddie was at 500. His other account, 1,100. Narrath here up 5,000. And Maddie again over 200. His other account, 600. David over here, 150. Brock over here, 10,000. And that's about it for today. So, I mean, pretty good profit for a Monday. This Monday was especially slow. But it's pretty good for, to kick off the week. Typically, you want to kick off the week on a good note. You don't want to take anything too risky because the last thing you want to do is end up in a hole and then have to climb your way out of it, throughout the rest of the week. So even for myself, locked in some profit, not a lot, but, enough to just get my feet wet for this week. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, this is pretty much all the entries that came up after the live session today. The next part that I want to cover is going to be the Forex intraday strategy, or intraday swing strategy that I plan on testing. It's not really something very different. It moves in conjunction with the SR scalp. It's kind of similar to the momentum scalp. It's just not a scalp anymore. It's a momentum entry that's taken on the higher time frames. So I guess we can take a look at it and see. The reason why I came up with this idea was because I was watching some interviews with some hedge fund managers over the weekend, and they basically were giving their insight as to like how they trade, right? Like, how do they treat people's stop losses? Where do they make their entries? And it lined up with like our strategies here. But the thing that really resonated with me was where they set their TPs, or like where their targets are, basically, which I think played very well with how I identified trades here. So let me just show you a quick example of like how it works. It's not super complicated. It's actually really easy. It's just on the 4-hour time frame. You don't really get too many momentum signals, so it takes, like, you're not going to get too many entries. Basically, it's the same thing that you do with the momentum scalp strategy. You want to look on 3 different time frames to make sure it's bullish. So here, AUD CAD was bullish on the daily, bullish on the 8-hour, bullish here on the 4-hour, right? So like basically, whenever you get a buy signal here, and don't apply the strategy like on your live accounts just yet, because I mean there's going to be some tweaking that needs to be done before we can really figure out exactly how to set this up, because I personally haven't really applied this myself either. So there was a couple different hedge fund managers that I was listening to. Some of them used, or they had an idea of like where to place your stop loss, and then there was this other hedge fund manager that was like one of the bigger ones, and he actually trades like I do. Like the way that he thought was, he doesn't use a small stop loss. He doesn't go for like a 1 to 3 or a 1 to 4 or a 1 to 10 or any of that. He goes for a 1 to 1 because he knows where price is going, exactly how I trade, right? Whenever I take a trade, I know I'm going to win that trade. And that's typically why I go for a 1 to 1. I don't necessarily go for a 1 to 3, a 1 to 2, but you can apply the strategy in that sense if you really wanted to. So basically, the way that this strategy would work was you'd want to identify what the overall direction was. We already identified it here as bullish, right? It's bullish on the 8-hour, bullish on the daily, and then bullish again here on the 4-hour. Prices above the pivots, trend meter is green, pivots are angling up, they're spread out. Once you get a momentum signal like this right here, this is where you would make your entry. So you want to be trading the direction of overall trend and bias. So once you have this entry right here, whether it's valid or invalid, your target is going to be where liquidity is sitting, right? Liquidity is sitting basically where these highs are that have not been tested yet. So this high here hasn't been tested yet, right? Your TP is going to be somewhere around this point. It's about like 40 pips. You're going to round it down because you don't typically want it to be past it, because you got to cover the spread. So about 35 pips right here. If you wanted to make your stop loss really tight, you could have placed it somewhere around here. One thing that you could use as well is the ATR. It's like one thing, average true range. I personally don't like the average true range, but I mean, if you want to be really specific, you can. So like looking at the average true range right here, it is set at 39 pips, so 40 pips. That wouldn't work here because your TP is going to be less than that. So what you can do here is just go for a 1 to 1, have it set to 35 pips. Once you let the trade run from that point, full TP on the next candle right there, literally straight to TP. Looking for the next one over here, price is still bullish. So again, same situation right here. And I typically cap my TP stop loss at like 100 pips. So again, right here, you have a buy signal, everything is bullish. You go ahead and take that again for another buy. And from here, you want to go see where liquidity is sitting. So like looking over here where price is currently at, you just want to go for the next level, which is right there, right? So your TP is going to be set somewhere below it. This is about 77 pips. You're going to go for like 75. And then this is where you kind of have a leeway. Like right here, for example, you can do 1 to 1 if you really wanted to. For me personally, I started to like place my stop loss at like, this is where I kind of tested it. like below the initial entry candle. So like say for example, right here, it's 28 pips. I'm just going to round it down a little further to 30 pips. And then from this point right here, you basically have like you have a 1 to 2.5 basically risk reward, right? You let the trade run, full TP. So there's a lot of different ways to apply this. I'm probably going to start implementing this into the signals. This strategy is literally the intraday strategy. This is like literally that. It's the intraday strategy because you're just matching the trend meter with the entry here. The only difference is the TP. Typically, we place our TP at the swing low, and you go for a 1-to-1. But what I figured out here is that it's actually better doing it this way because what I'm doing is identifying liquidity. So you see how price kind of blasts right here. The reason why I've identified this as liquidity is because whoever was entering a sell from this point, right? If price was coming down from here and people are entering sells, where's their stop loss going to be? It's going to be right there, right? And that's where I'm aiming for because I'm betting on people that get stopped out. That's like literally what I'm doing. I'm like playing devil's advocate here, right? Typically you want to trade in the direction of like wherever people are trading, but what I'm doing is I'm doing the opposite. I'm pretty much looking exactly where people have their stop losses placed, which is right here. And what I'm doing is I'm catching my target at those points. So I'm literally betting on people to lose. Majority of people lose at trading. So what am I going to do? I'm going to bet on them to lose, and I'm going to do the opposite of them. So if they're selling here at a stop loss around that area, I'm going to do the opposite and buy, right? So I'm basically outsmarting the market. I'm trading like a hedge fund. And, you know, I typically listen to a lot of interviews from hedge fund managers or like a lot of big time traders, not necessarily these YouTube traders and stuff like that. I don't listen to any of those people. I listen to like people who are actually big in the space, like, you know, like Ray Dalios, people who are like actual figures in the trading space. And I listen to like what they do. And I use that to my advantage because typically a lot of people trade the same exact way. You know, everyone trades support resistance. Everyone trades Fibonacci's. The crazy thing too is like the Fibonacci's, you know, people trade Fibonacci's. I was listening to this interview with the hedge fund manager and they said that they use Fibonacci's to trade against them. So they use the Fibonacci's to identify where people are trading from. And then they do the opposite. So they basically identify wherever the golden zone is, or, you know, whatever terms they use for the Fibonacci's. I don't use Fibonacci, so I don't know. But what they do is they typically identify where their entries are, and then they take trades in the opposite direction of them. So that's exactly what I'm doing here too. I don't use Fibonacci's. I don't plan on using them, but I might use them just to figure out, you know, where people are placing their stop losses so I can trade against them. So this is a preview of like that strategy that I showed you. And this works on pretty much everything. It's not just Forex. I mean, if you want to trade something like gold, the thing with gold though is that I don't know like the direction of gold and stuff, or like how things move, because it's a little more complicated, right? The movements for gold. So I mean, let me show you another example here. It's like the same exact thing. I'll just replay it from, because I don't trade gold, so I don't know like what's a big move or what's not. But again, right here, we're just going to assume that this is everything's bullish, right? Or I could just check myself. So looking at this right here, everything's bullish, right? Daily's bullish, 8 hours bullish, 4 hour right here is bullish. So if you were to take this entry here, because the trend meter is red, trend meter is green, pivots are angling up, price is above, everything's here is bullish. You take your buy entry right there. You identify where the liquidity is sitting. So you're basically identifying where everyone's stop losses are, right? So from my perspective right here, everybody's stop losses are right here. So my TP is going to be slightly below that. I don't know how much this is. If it's like, I think this is 170 pips for gold. I don't trade gold, so I can't really say exactly. But basically, you know, if you're entering this for a 1-to-1 right here, or I mean, you can even make it tighter. If you don't want to have that much of a risk, you can do 1 to 1.7, right? And this is all up to preference. You let the trade run, full TP right there. So it's not just for Forex. I mean, this can be applied for everything. I mean, this is the same strategy I showed you guys 5 years ago. It's the same exact strategy. It's just placing our TP in a different area and stop loss, because a lot of people have been bugging me about like a positive risk toward. I know I'm not a big fan of it, but it works. So if you want to apply it, you can. I mean, what else do people trade? US 30, I guess. but I don't really trade US 30 on the higher time frames like this. But I mean, just looking at it right here, it still works the same way. It's not like it's any different. So again, right here on the 4 hour, again, I don't know anyone that trades US 30 on this high of a time frame, but everything here is bullish. It's been bullish for a while. You apply the same exact strategy right here. Price is bullish, price is above the pivots are angling up, trend meter is green, everything lines up. Long position right here. Your TP is going to be where all the liquidity is sitting. So liquidity is sitting right there. Where's your TP going to be? Right there. About like 3,000 pips. So I'm just going to make it a little less, 2,800 pips. Stop loss could be a 101 or make it a little tighter if you prefer. So this is basically a like 1 to 1.3. Let the trade run right there. Kind of pushes up a little bit, retraces, comes up, eventually comes up and hits TP. So the strategy works fine on like pretty much any asset. Just depends on what you want to trade. So this is something I'm going to be working on. I'll probably be implementing this into the strategies. The only reason I'm going to implement it is because the Forex trades for the SR zone strategy, they don't come up very often. So there's not too many entries for us to take. I mean, I can zoom through here real quick to see if I can find anything. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Otherwise, I think that's about it for this mentoring session. I don't really have anything else to cover today. So if you guys have anything else that you want to cover, feel free. Otherwise, I have 2 other mentoring sessions after this. So if you guys want to hop onto those, you know, you can see if there's any other questions that you might have missed that you wanted to ask but can't remember. I'm pretty sure they're going to have similar questions to most of you guys. There's an entry here for odd CHF. I was going to apply the same strategy that I just discussed. The one that I just showed you guys, there's a sell signal right here, right? Odd CHF is bearish on the daily and 8 hour. So I was actually going to take this entry right here at 6 o'clock during the live session. However, I didn't wait for this candle here to close, so I missed the trade. But you can see here, I marked it up because I was going to take it full TP. So it works fine. You can see that I'm already testing it out. I mean, I'm not really testing anything because it's the same strategy. It's not like it's a brand new strategy. It's just a TP and stop loss are set in different places. Like you actually have a target to reach for now. Here's another entry that's currently running for Euro CHF. Bullish, 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 buy signal right there. It's still running. It's pretty much at entry point, but it's still running. I'm not in this position, but I'm basically just running it through to see you know, how these entries could look like. Euro NZD, this is bearish. I wouldn't be taking any buys here. It's a buy entry right there, but it's not, it doesn't fit the criteria. Euro USD, nothing there. GA, nothing there. Well, GA is breaking structure right here, but it's not exactly, there's no target after it reaches that point. So not exactly an entry for us to take there. So broken flow is passive, but there's no upper zone for me to ride to. GBP CHF, there was one right here. So again, the same strategy that I just discussed. Right there, right? So I drew this up right there. You can see my markup. This came up a while back, but I marked it up right there in order for it to hit, and it did hit full TP. So it does go hand in hand with the SR zone. There's another one right here for GJ. I was actually going to take this one, but this came up like at a weird time. So this entry over here came up at a weird time. Also, the bias here wasn't all bullish. So the daily here is neutral, 8 hours neutral. If they were both bullish, then I would have taken this right here. This would have been applying the same strategy that I just showed you guys. There's a buy signal right here. Pretty much ride it to the next level of liquidity. I think it's still running. Yeah, so it's not even done yet. That's why I have it marked up right here. The 120 pips. So I'll follow this. If it hits TP, great. If it doesn't, it's okay. But another example of that same strategy I just showed you guys. GN over here. No, everything here is bearish. You don't want to take this for a buy yet. GU, nothing there. NZD CHF, nothing there. NZD CAD, nothing there. NZD JPY. This is another example. It's still running, still active. NZD JPY here is bullish across the board. So this is technically a valid entry. but not one that we called because I'm still looking at it. NZD USD, nothing there. USD CAD, nothing there. USD CHF, nothing there. And USD JPY, nothing there. All right, guys. So if you guys have any questions or if you want me to cover anything specific, feel free to put your question in the chat. Otherwise, I think I pretty much covered everything that we needed for today. I went over all of the entries from US 30 that happened after the live session today. As you guys can see here, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 entries, back-to-back wins, no losses, applying the momentum scalp strategy for today after the live session. This was a trade that I took earlier. If you guys are wondering, that's the one that I took, and I took a partial profit. Reason why I took a partial profit was because I misidentified it as an actual entry. Reason why I misidentified it was because I had this pending sell signal here on the 10-minute, and I thought it closed, but it was still pending. So that's the reason why I entered it. I pulled out early. Unfortunately, it went straight to TP right after, and it blasted down another 1,000 pips. But I still locked in partial profit, so that's all that really matters. You know, as long as you don't eat a loss, and then you can still survive the trade, then it's fine. You know, even if you pulled out early, you know, I pulled out early because I made a mistake. If I didn't make a mistake, I would have held on to it. But this entry here was actually really good because it lined up with both strategy requirements. So for one, it was a high-low momentum pivot scalp, and then also it was a momentum scalp as well. So looking over the requirements, identify momentum signal. There's a sell signal right there. Draw a zone at the previous high-low. The zone was right there. Confirm that price is rejecting or momentum is rejecting off the zone. It is right there. Overall direction was bearish. Could have made the entry right here, but then I missed it. Or I didn't miss it, but I took it, and I didn't realize that the 10-minute didn't actually have a sell signal on it. Same with the momentum scalp here. Everything was lined up except the 10-minute. So would have been good. So question from Patrick. Patrick's asking, just to confirm, based on the 4-hour Forex entry signals, entries would hit around 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 6 p.m., 10 p.m., all Pacific time, correct? Yes, that is correct, Patrick. So the 4-hour candle closes at the same time every day, 2 p.m., or 2, 6, and 10. So 2, 6, and 10 a.m., 2, 6, and 10 p.m. That's why I like the 4-hour time frame, because there's a set time. There's always a set time to look for trades. So like right now, I looked at the 4-hour time frame because it's 2 o'clock. Market just reopened. I was looking to see if there was any entries. There wasn't anything for us to take. The next time to look is going to be at 6 o'clock. So that's why I prefer to trade the 4-hour time frame, because you don't have to be on the charts all day. You literally will just check at 2 o'clock in the morning and night, 6 o'clock morning and night, 10 o'clock morning and night, and then you're done. So it's like it's the best time frame to trade if you don't want to be on the charts all day. Because if you're trading on the 1 hour, you have to be on the charts literally all day. It's just not a fun time, you know, especially if you're looking for entries and it's just you're not finding anything because market is either really slow or it's either too fast, and then you just end up wasting your entire day on the screens. So that's why I prefer the 4-hour time frame. All right, guys. So I don't see any other questions. So I think that's about it for today. Well, for now, at least. I have another session coming up at about 4 o'clock or 4:30 with Douglas. I'm going to message him right now to see if he wants to start earlier. If he does, then you guys will see the link posted in the group. Otherwise, after I'm done with Douglas, I have another mentoring session right after with Ross. So if your questions didn't get answered here, if you don't remember, or if you don't have any questions, if you guys want to sit in on the other sessions with Douglas and Ross, you know, they'll probably ask questions that you guys have, but you guys just haven't thought of. So if you guys want to sit in on those, I got sessions all night. So I'm going to go take a little break real quick, catch my breath, message Douglas, see if he wants to hop on early, and then we'll get started with that once he's ready. So, all right, guys, if you guys have any questions, feel free to message me on Telegram. I'll be hanging out like pretty much all day today. So if you guys have anything, you know, feel free to message me. I'll probably get back to you pretty quickly, as long as I'm not in the mentoring session at the time. So, all right, guys, I think that's it for now. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me or message me on Telegram. Otherwise, I'll see you guys back here in a couple hours for the next